What is up, Hammerheads? Welcome back to the Forge. Today we are doing a forge weld. Stay tuned. Remember, guys, you keep your metal clean, really clean, while you're doing your forge weld. Forge scale is a forge weld worst enemy. Alright guys, I'm taking my flux and I'm just putting it on here. Both sides. Don't forget to get up here at the top. A lot of times people forget that and it'll cause a cold shut and it'll break. Put it back in the forge. I don't know if you can see the temperature in there, guys, but I'll try to darken or do something to where you can see inside the forge better. But it's looking good. Guys, when I come out of the forge, I'm gonna have to go somewhat quick. I'll try to go as slow as I can, but I don't want to miss my opportunity to get my forge weld in. Because if you miss your opportunity, you can miss the whole process. Handle a little bit. It looks like our forge weld took, guys, but I'm going to do a little bit more flux. Nope, it didn't take. See how the seam's still there? Luckily it's still clean on the inside, so I'm going to grab some more flux. Run it there, throw it back in the fire. Forge weld right there, guys. If you look right here, you see where the seam starts, but then it fades away, and that shows that I have a good forge weld right here in this section from here down. Now let's brush it off. Yeah, and I'm gonna put a little bit more flux on it. Okay, I always like doing 2 forge welds just to make sure everything's stuck together. Clean off your anvil, you don't want that mess all over the place. Guys, you can see, let me grab my finger again to show. You can see where the seam is and how it goes into where the rest of the bar was that's been forge welded. Now you want to pay attention. Don't get this section too small, or if you're making like a basic fire poker, it'll break. It'll be real brittle here. Always leave enough material. Okay, guys? All right, guys, let's get real for a minute and talk about what we learned today. First and foremost, if you are using a coal forge, sorry about that, guys. If you're using a coal forge, make a big mound of coal and then make a cave on the inside of it for your material to go in so you can watch it. Don't just stab in and keep pulling the material in and out of the coal, because you're going to lose your heat and your forge weld will not stick good. You want to leave it in there till it's absolutely ready to forge weld. Second, if you're using propane, watch it also, because even though propane a lot of times is set it and forget it, I have to crank my forge up to about 15 PSI. I'm not going into all the detail about PSI because I don't even know all that. But I have to crank it up to 15 PSI. Normally I just keep it at 10. But because of the type of forge mine is, I have to crank it up a little bit more in my PSI so I can get my heat up there. But with that being cranked up, you can still burn up your material if it's too thin. Also, next part. On your forge weld, when you come out, make sure you work in the area you're wanting to forge weld. Don't hammer all over the place. You only have a certain amount of time, so plan your hits. I came out from the fire, went directly to the anvil, and started working on that area. Once you start doing a forge weld, you got to work till you're done, okay? Till at least you're done with what you're welding. All right. The next thing to look out for is if you're doing this type of forge weld, and I was going to forge weld the whole piece and then decided not to halfway through, because I wanted to show you this L shape, or this foot or claw or whatever you want to call it, off of the material. If you're making a basic fireplace poker, this is something you will be doing. You'll fold the material over, you'll forge weld, and then you're going to have a little split right here. Let me get my poker. You'll have the little split right here to where it's not welded. You need to be careful there, because that section can get very brittle and thin while you're doing the drawing out process and doing your forge weld, and it could break. And we're going to be using this exact style of forge weld in our next video when we make the grease lamp. I'll be getting into a whole lot more detail about patterns and stuff in that video, so stay tuned for it. Also, I'm going to say that also probably 15 more times if y'all want to mark that down. You kept hearing me say flux in my video, and this is what you use to make your forge weld work. It does not make your forge weld stick. People call it the glue or whatever, it's not. Flux keeps your material from oxidizing, because if you have dirty material, or you get oxidation inside where your forge weld's going to be, sorry guys, I sucked flux up my nose. But you get oxidation where forge weld's going to be, then it makes it to where it will not stick together and it will not adhere together in your forge weld. So you use what's called flux. This right here is 20 multene borax. It is laundry detergent. I know that 20 multene borax works. Let me see if I can get in here close. Y'all can see it. I've heard of guys using boric acid and iron oxide, which is your forge scale ground up. And there's other things on the market that you can purchase to do forge welds with. I have great success with 20 multene borax. It works very well. Back to forging. And I'm not going to stress this so much. Watch your material. You are looking for a very, very, very bright yellow going into white. Okay? If it is not bright yellow going into white, it will not forge weld. And the video might be misleading a little bit on the coloring. That's why I'm telling you. Because I have seen Forge Weld videos where the Forge Weld looked great, but it looked like the material wasn't hot enough. And that's just dealing with the camera. So pay attention to your material, because there is a very fine line between Forge Weld and burn, and completely burn your material up. A lot more so with a coal forge versus a gas forge, but you still can burn your material up in a gas forge because you have the heat cranked up. Also, guys, when you come out of the forge, you do not have to hit this thing like you're trying to kill it. Unless you're forge welding a couple of really, really heavy, thick pieces of material together. But for thinner material like this 3/8 or 1/4 inch, like what we're going to be using in the grease lamp video, you do not have to kill it when you hit it. Come out, do a good swing, you know, a good hit. And I always personally like to hit a couple times. I look at my stuff, I brush it off really well, and then I put a little bit more borax on it, and I go back into the fire, and I do what's called a second forge weld. Some people say it's not necessary. I've always had great luck with doing it that way. So practice around and do what you like to do. If the forge weld takes on the first weld, you're good. But as you've seen in the video, I forge welded the first time, and the material was like there, but not really all the way. It was almost hot enough, and it didn't take. And I know because when I went to go hammer it down to kind of round it out, my whole piece on this side, this section, moved. So I knew it wasn't welded. I instantly looked very fast to see if any forge swell was forming on the inside. I threw more borax on it really fast, and I threw it back in the fire. Don't wait around and look. If you wait around too long, you'll mess up your piece. You're going to have to cut it off and restart. So guys, that is a basic forge weld. And the reason why I'm showing you this video before we do the grease lamp is I want you to practice this forge weld a few times, because your first forge weld normally might do pretty good, but then your second, third, and fourth, for some reason, don't. I think it's a confidence thing. The first time you really pay attention, and then as it progresses, you get more comfortable. Just throwing it out there because I don't know what you guys wear. I always try to wear my eye protection, even though a lot of times when I'm talking, it's up on top of my head. I wear my eye protection, I wear my glove, and a lot of times if I'm doing some big forge welds with tomahawks, I will wear my leather apron, and I always try to make sure I wear pants and clothes that are not catching on, that will not catch on fire easy. I try to wear cotton or jean material, fire resistant material, and wear good leather closed-toed shoes, because I have known of people to get hit with sparks from forge welds and their shirt catch on fire. Okay, so pay close attention. Forge welding is an amazing thing to learn how to do, but it also can be kind of dangerous, so please be careful. But guys, that's the video. That is our basic forge weld. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you on the next one. God bless. Keep hammering.